All right, in this video, we're gonna learn how to do a small drag and drop inside of HTML canvas, like this square in the middle. You can click and you can move it wherever you want, like this. Cool, right? It's actually pretty simple. So let's get started. Okay, we're gonna start from the beginning. In HTML, I just have a canvas element with ID canvas, no CSS. In JavaScript, I made the width and height 90% so we can see better, have a solid border, and I only need three global variables. The first one is dragging. It's always going to be false unless the user clicks on the shape. We're going to see why later on. Start X and start Y will tell us where the user clicked. So we know the exact X and Y coordinates, right? And my shape is just a very simple square inside an object, right? So first things first, let's draw this shape. Okay, so function, I'll call this render shape. And let's keep it simple. So first things first, ctx.fillStyle. I think it was red, so yeah, let's make it red. Another thing we need to do is we need to clear the canvas every time we draw a shape, right? Just so we don't get repeated shapes. So ctx.clearRect from 0, 0, all the way to canvas.width and canvas.height. I can't really type today. All right, and then we can do ctx.fillRect to draw a rectangle, right? And this is just gonna come from my shape right here. So my shape.x, my shape.y, and how long and how tall is it? It's gonna be dependent on my shape.width and my shape.height, which we have from this object right here, right? And ctx.fillStyle, instead of red, it should be my shape.color, actually. And then let's set the canvas.style.background to orange. I know I can set it in canvas as well, but I like to do CSS for this. So, and then here we're gonna call render shape and see what we get here. Okay, cool. We have a shape, but we cannot drag it around yet. So in order to do that, we only need a few functions. We can do canvas dot on mouse down. So when they left click, right, something's gonna happen. We need canvas on mouse up, right? Something's gonna happen. And then we also need canvas dot on mouse move, right? Why? Because when we're dragging it, we're moving our mouse. So we also need that. So there's only three functions that you need. And when we do canvas.onMouseUp, all you really need is to change the is dragging to false. Because once we let go of the left click, which is on mouse up, we want it to stop moving the shape. So we have to set is dragging to false. Okay, let's work on canvas.isMouseDown first. Okay, so when they left click on the shape, we're going to change our start X and start Y. So start X will now be equal to the event from here dot client X. Okay? And then we can do the same thing for Y. Then I'm going to change both of these to Y. Now, you might think we're just going to do is dragging equals true, but we don't want that. We only want is dragging equals true if they actually clicked inside of the shape and not out here on the orange, right? So if, and then we're going to write this function if clicked inside shape, and then we're going to pass in our start X, start Y, and also the shape object. In this case, we only have one, so it's my shape. Okay. So if that is true, then we're going to set is dragging to true. Okay. So now inside of our canvas.onMouseDown, let's actually write this function. Okay. So function click inside shape. It's going to take an X, a Y, and a shape. Okay. Now, how do we know if they actually clicked inside or not? Okay, to make things more clear, I'm going to change these variable names to user X because that's where the user clicked, and user Y. All right, and then here we're going to have const init X, and that's going to be equal to shape.x. Okay, So what does uh, this mean? Well, when we're trying to figure out if the user clicked inside of this red square, first we have to find, hey, where is the starting x coordinate? So it's right here. And then we also need to find the total width, right? So init x is the original x starting coordinate, which is right here. And then now we can say const total width will be equal to init x plus the shape dot width. Okay. And then we can do the same thing. Let me copy this. And then here we can do init y is equal to shape dot y. And instead of total width, this is now total height. Okay. And this will be init y plus shape dot height. Okay. So now I'm going to do const past capital all checks. Okay, this looks good. All right, pass all checks is going to check if, hey, the user x, so the user x, so that's where they clicked, it has to be greater than your initial x of the shape, right? And it has to be less than the total width. So user x less than total width. Okay, and then I'm going to put another and right here just so it looks nice. And then down here, we can do the same thing, but with y. Oh, let me move this. So instead of user x, this is now y. Init x becomes init y. This also becomes that, and total width becomes total height, right? And then at the end, we can simply return passed all checks, and this will either be true or false. Okay, so let's test this. If it passes this check, we turn this to true. Let's alert. Yay, inside, like this. Okay, so now if I click outside, you don't see it. But if I click inside, we see it. Okay, now let me show you something kind of weird. If we click like right here, how come it's not working? It's still inside the shape. That's because of the CSS border right here. Okay, I'll show you how to take care of that right now. To do that, let's do const border info will be equal to the window object. The window object has a thing called get computed style of which element of our canvas element with the element ID of canvas. And this element has a bunch of CSS properties. So we need to do get property value. Which value? Border. All right, now I'm going to alert border info. Let's see what we get. So you see our border is not exactly 14 because HTML does some weird things to it. So 13 point something something px. How do we extract this number? Right? We can do that by doing const true border will be equal to border info dot slice, and we're going to slice from the 0th index to the index of the letter P right here. So we're going to slice border info dot index of P. Okay, and then now we can do alert true. Oh yeah, wait, that was right. I don't know why I had to change that. Okay, so now if we click, let me refresh. If I click, we get this number, right? So now all we need to do, let me take this away. Right here, we can subtract that from our client X and client Y, all right? So now we click outside, nothing happens. If we click right here, right on the corner, it works because now it's taking advantage of the border. What if we change it to 24? Is it still gonna work? Yes, it's still gonna work right at the edges, right? Because now our code gets updated whenever we do mouse down, it checks the border again. All right, so we're done with the border stuff. We're done with on mouse down. We're done with on mouse up. Now we just have to handle how on mouse move works. So let's do that. All right, for on mouse move, we only want this to run if is dragging is true. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to do const mouse x, which is where they clicked. So e.client x, const mouse y, e.client y. Now, how do we actually make it move? Well, all we actually need to do is change the myshape.x to be plus equal to what? And it's going to be equal to the mouse x right here minus the start x, right? And oh, this is the delta x. Okay, so it tells us where they started dragging and where they ended it. So start x, and then we can do the same thing for y. Change this to y. Change this to y. Now, when we do this, we also need to call render shape again, and render shape also clears the canvas, right? So after we cleared the canvas, we have to reset our global variables here. So start x would be now equal to mouse x, right? The latest movement. And then start y will be equal to mouse y. All right. And now we can move our shape and we can even let it go, right? And it stays. It's pretty cool, right? Okay, hope that was useful.